The key between the law of attraction and manifesting, which is kind of the same thing, and having is action.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when I started going with, well, here's what I want, and then looking at, do I actually do it? The things that I wanted and I actually did, I ended up getting all of them, 100%.
Hello, my name is Aaron Wexler, and welcome to another episode of Within the Game. Let's go!
Let's go.
Within the Game is all about sharing inspiration, and I just love to have awesome conversations and share inspiration, motivation. And we talk about topics like energy and manifesting and spirituality and inspiration, right? Inspiration leads to inspired action. So thank you all for being a part of this podcast. And if you find any inspiration out of this for you, my request is that you share this with one person. That would be awesome. And please follow and support my guests. And today's guest is the one and only Ike Shehadeh. Ike, thanks so much for being here, man.
Man, I'm so excited to talk with you even more in depth than we normally get to chat.
Let's go, Ike. Ike is the founder of Ike's Love and Sandwiches, the San Francisco-born sandwich brand that has expanded to over 100 locations nationwide, known for its inventive menu of more than 1,000 sandwiches and 100 plus celebrity collaborations with stars and athletes like Marshawn Lynch, Steph Curry, Howie Mandel, and many more. Ike's has also been featured on TV favorites like Man vs. Food and covered in the mainstream press as the sandwich phenomenon, spreading love and sandwiches across the country. The website is ikessandwich.com. And on YouTube, he's got a great YouTube channel. Go follow there at vote for Ike Shehadeh. And then on all the socials at Ike Shehadeh and Ike Sandwiches. Again, Ike, I really appreciate this. This is a direct connection from David Meltzer because we connected there. So shout out to David Meltzer. And yeah, the first thing I like to start with, Ike, with all my guests is this concept of inspiration and how you use your inspiration into inspired action. Maybe we could just start there.
Inspired action. So the I think that there's a big misconception, or maybe people are just not seeing it. But right now, in all of our lives, you, me, anybody listening now or in the future, this will be true 10,000 years from now, is we already do a lot of things automatically. We already do a lot of things every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year, every 5 years. We automatically do these things, and we also do not expect to get rewarded for them, whether financially or otherwise. We are already taking inspired action in our lives. The only times we think that it's a problem that we're not inspired is because the action that we're taking or think we need to take is not really high on our values, if at all. And so I realized what people actually are not acting based on what they say they do. They act on based on how they feel and what they are already gonna do or not do. I think Wayne Dyer said something, you squeeze an orange and orange juice comes out because that's what's inside. Same thing. So I remembered what I did in 2004 when I made this list. And so I framed my question this time was, what would I do and not expect to get paid, with one extra caveat that I'm already doing right now? And my list had changed from number one was going on dates, but now it was cooking, throwing dinner parties, bringing people around the table, feeding people, eating, and another 30 things. I wrote a real long list. Dating was like 10 instead of one. And I noticed in 3 years, my life changed. What was inspiring to me, working out was on the list. And I thought, I should probably open up a restaurant. So, and it wasn't because it brought me inspiration, it's kind of the opposite. I was already inspired to cook. Anyway, this was a long way of me saying I didn't need to have inspired action to open up Pikes. I was already inspired to cook and feed people and create recipes, and thus I would have been a fool not to attempt a career in that. And we're all doing that already right now in our lives with something or many things. And the disconnect is we're not as humans moving in that direction for our career or for our business.
Wow. I appreciate that. I don't know if I agree with you that everyone is inspired. It's part of the reason why I started this podcast is to kind of share that inspiration from people that really have it. Like yourself, I feel that from you. But I want you to speak to the person out there who's listening to that, who disagrees, like I do, who might be like, man, I'm not inspired. Matter of fact, you mentioned that you HATE the world, right? Like there's a lot of that right now, and that's part of the reason again why I'm putting this show out. This is my sixth season. This is the 102nd episode. Like I'm really working on like sharing this inspo. I want you to like talk about to the person who's like I just don't agree. The middle fingers up to the world. How does that person create inspiration, and how does that person create inspired action?
Well, they're already doing things right now. So I hated the world, and I was like, screw people, whatever, screw rich people, screw politicians, all these things. I'm like, everybody's a hypocrite. I'm a 25-year-old impressionable kid, 24 maybe. But I really reflected on my life. Anybody that hates the world right now, that thinks billionaires should be dead or shouldn't exist, or think it doesn't matter your political, you can be on the other side, be like, oh, I think all immigrants need to leave. It's not really relevant what you think. What's more relevant is, are you just sleeping in your bed all day and not doing anything?
Yeah.
And yes, 100%. There are people that have some mental things that they're going through. And I've even been for brief periods of my life where I was debilitated from either a breakup or a bad business thing, or where I was depressed and unable to do things. But outside of those, which is going to be rare out of 100% of people, it's going to be very small. Now, if
Yeah.
you are in that space where you're depressed or chemically imbalanced or some other actual physiological thing, seek help in that area. But even if that's you, what I'm about to say will still help this person. Is there's almost nobody that's just not doing anything. Me myself, once upon a time I was homeless, and even around other people that were homeless, they still, hey, I'm just gonna crack this beer and enjoy life. Like that person was inspired or slightly by, hey, I got $2. I'm gonna go buy a 40 ounce of Old English back when you could get one of those for $2 and drink it, and for however long, be happy and jolly. We all have our version of that, whether it's binging a TV, and some are more useful than others. Like it could be drinking the Old English with a bunch of other homeless people. It could be binge watching a Netflix show or whatever, or some other show. But we're already doing stuff. Like I mentioned, the dog. But for me, back in the day, it was way, way like when I was more on the five senses, like more hedonistic. Not that there's nothing wrong with what I'm about to say that but when I was like, oh, I want to go on dates, great. Let me just go talk to women. That inspired me. Oh, I really love my cats. Oh, let me just talk to my cat. I have a friend now. Or just even go, like now I go to petting zoos still in my 40s. Hey, if I'm really depressed or upset or can't work something out, I see that if I go to a petting zoo and hang out with the baby goat, and they sometimes have rabbits and ferrets in there, that actually eases things, even still today. So we all have these things right now. And I think the block is that people feel like inspiration needs to like light them up and stuff like that. But we already have that.
Okay.
What lights you up right now? All of us. Nobody has zero things in their life that lights them up. Me, even as being depressed and houseless and well, I don't want to use the word homeless because I was living in the back of stores. I was living in cars. I was living on people's couches. So I wasn't like on the street often, but I certainly was not like, here's my place and I can come here every time. It's, Aaron, will you let me sleep on your couch? Great, I have a home tonight. Hey, can
Yeah.
I sleep in your car? That's all I needed. I have a blanket and all that. Even in that space, there were still things that lit me up. Having a conversation with a friend, eating a really delicious sandwich, pre-ice. I'm like, oh man, tasting how the bread and the sauce and the meat on my tongue, that inspired me. Now, as a homeless
Yeah.
person, I wasn't like, yay, I'm so inspired. Let me go open up a sandwich shop now. But for me to say, oh, I have zero things that inspire me, I would only be lying to myself. And
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
so. Somebody that is saying this outside of, like I said, a very, very small subset of where it might be a chemical imbalance, it might be a physiological thing. We all have that, even if we hate our jobs, right?
Okay.
You didn't leave your job because of one, two, or three reasons. Otherwise, you just leave your job or you hate your relationship. You didn't leave because of one, two, and three. And those one, two, three are more important than leaving the job, leaving the relationship. We don't frame it as that. I looked at based on my results in my life. I decided when I was dumb and hated the world that I was doing something and I didn't stop doing it. I was doing it for a reason and I didn't lie to myself. I didn't close my business because I really like doing these things, even though I was only making $25 a day. And I also, in addition to that, even though I like the things, I would have been humiliated if I went out of business
Yeah.
to myself. My pride didn't let me do it. So I
Yeah.
did have a benefit. And so forth and so forth. I was dating a girl and I was like, oh, if I close my business and have no money, will she break up with me? Spoiler alert, she doesn't actually break up with me. But I thought that. Will my friends respect me or not? So there's a lot of things that we don't admit to ourselves about the benefits and drawbacks of things that we do or do not do. And in the things that we inspire, like the part that really hit me the most is I knew what inspired me and I was afraid to do it because my parents would think that that was stupid and society would think it was stupid. And I grew up Muslim. It's like people in the religious community would be like, Ike, you're going to go work at Victoria's Secret? That's, quote, bad. You want to go on dates? That's bad. Heck, even now, if I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm going to write a book on meeting with, so I wrote a book. I'm never going to print it, by the way, because you'll hear what it's about. I wrote a book about how to meet women online and get them to pay for the first date. Man, I would get canceled in 2026 if I even suggested, "Hey guys, I need 100 dates." I probably wouldn't would have to frame it differently to say that, right? So anyway, I already knew what inspired me. And the reason why I didn't move forward in those is because of outside influences, not because I didn't want to do that. And right now, most humans know at least one thing that they would do. Like if they had $10 million in the bank right now, and it was making them whatever 60K a year just in interest that they could spend, and you go, okay, what would you do now for work? They all know what they would do. And somebody that didn't would be able to figure out within 24 hours what they would do with their lives. They're not just going to roll over and not do anything, right? They'll travel or do what they really want to do. The disconnect is why not do that right now?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
they're afraid. I know I
Right.
was there. I told people I'm going to open up bikes. Prominent family members said that's a stupid idea. Yelp said it was a stupid idea. They're like, "Did you know there's 3,000 sandwich shops just in San Francisco right now?
Right.
You should advertise with us because you are opening up a sandwich shop." So everybody was saying, don't do it. And then, so instead, what I did was, and
Yeah.
then I did it anyway.
Yeah.
Not because I needed inspiration to do it, because I was already inspired and I was
Yeah.
already doing it.
That makes sense. And if you're listening, Ike just covered his ears. That's what he,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's what he did. But I guess where I want to take this next is what's really relatable about what everything you're just saying is it seems to me like you had a North Star. And I want you to talk about that a little bit. And what I mean by that is like, where are you going with your inspiration and your inspired action? What direction are you going in? I think for a lot of athletes, we're always looking to go for the win. We want to be the best version of ourselves. There's a personal growth component of winning. That's part of the North Star. But we also want to create a brand for ourselves. And that's part of the reason why I'm inspired by you and your story. You've created this brand for yourself. You obviously have your picture right there on your shirt. You got this fun logo, but you have a brand. You built a brand. I want to know if that was part of your North Star when you were going for this, because I think that's really relatable. And then also if you can carry that further, like what's the next North Star?
So the next North Star, or currently like how it would be applicable to other folks is, well, one, every year I redo what my values are. Like I just
Mm,
go through, and I don't do it based on what I want. And I think also a lot of folks, unfortunately, they frame, say, their opinions, relationship, politically, religiously, whatever it is, based on outside influences. Now, outside influences help us shape our lives. You're not going to be able to create anything in your life inspiring outside of maybe being a monk or something on your own. So, but what I noticed is that a lot of the opinions that I had was someone else, something else, not mine. And so instead I go, well, what am I already doing? And so when I redo my values, I do it based on what I'm already. I can't say, oh, I really want to. What's one thing that I would have said? So one of the things I would write down is like, I will love to feed people, and I want to make sure that homeless people get fed. And then I look at my results and I'm like, okay, yeah, we actually have given away. I've given away more food every year than money I personally make in my pocket. So I can say that I care about feeding people. And I'm not saying this to like brag. What I'm saying is, so if I say I want to feed people or help homeless people or help people that don't have food, or and that could be anybody from a kid in college that is broke, especially these days, to an actual homeless person, I can say that I care about that because I do it to myself. And this is to myself. Every time I do this value list, I don't go post it anywhere. I don't say, hey, my values shifted. So I first look at what my values are on a yearly basis. Sometimes, if I'm in a rut, if I'm not feeling inspired, I automatically make the connection. Oh, it's probably because I'm not doing things that I value. Maybe they've shifted. And
mm,
then I'll redo that list. So sometimes I do it twice a year, but usually once a year, like I just did it a few weeks ago. Instead of creating resolutions, I go, let me find out what I actually value today. Because once in 2004, number one was getting dates. Now, like 21 is getting dates. So, what are my top goals? Top things. Sometimes I do my list and it's, oh, I want to speak, teach, and travel over having my business.
yeah.
Oh, maybe that's why I'm not feeling inspired right now because I'm working on the business too much and not traveling, speaking, and teaching. And sometimes it's no, I'm not feeding enough people personally, like me going out and doing it, and that's why I'm not
Yeah.
inspired. And those are the times, well, you see me like I'm in a store all the time, passing out food. People are like, what are you doing here right now, passing out sandwiches? You have 100 something restaurants. It inspires me to do that.
That's cool.
So I repurpose my goals or my values, and then not create goals around that, but create actions around that. If I go, hey, I really, right now, my number one value is feeding people, then I'm going to make sure I'm feeding people as often as possible.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm in a store all the time? Does that mean I'm just doing a surprise and be like, hey, meet me here in Phoenix on Friday from 6 to 9. I'll feed everybody that comes in. Just show me that you saw this message, kind of thing.
Mm, yeah.
And so that's how I recreate or make sure I'm following my North Star.
Yeah.
Now we all could do this if everybody real quick did their values, but based on what they're already doing, not based on what they want to do. I want to help the world, and but they're not doing anything to help the world. There should be no judgment on that, especially on yourself. No, right now you're worried about your kids, or you're worried about your family, or you're worried about getting food, or whatever. Then your family is your number one value, and then so just create things and inspiration within your family. There's no wrong value at all. Even if I said today, my number one thing is getting dates, there's nothing wrong with that. The only time it's wrong with it is when somebody else is projecting their values on us. And
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing, especially if we're actually in relationships, like with our employees or with our employer or with our significant other or even our children, is when our values clash.
Right.
The reason why, another big reason why you want to know your values is if you know what your values are, you'll know when you're saying, oh no, sorry, I don't want to do that. You're not a bad person. It's just not in your values. Now, you can connect something that somebody wants from you or something else to something that you value by linking it through your values to help create actual synergies rather than doing things out of guilt or shame or even being resentful.
Yeah.
And so that's basically what I do, and showing folks how no, you have that right now. How do I know? Because you're not just in a corner like this, not doing anything all day. You're doing something. Your actions
Yeah.
show what you value. If you're
Yeah.
like, well, I'm just going to work so I can get paid. Okay, so having a roof over your head is something that you value. Having food in your stomach is something that you value. Maslow talks about the hierarchies. So we just need to get past those through inspiration, and that's the best way to do it. Plus, you'll always be a genius, creative. You'll never get tired within your values.
Pardon the interruption. Just wanted to give a quick shout out of gratitude and recognition to you, the viewer and listener. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this podcast journey over the last 5 years. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for being here. My ask is that you guys leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if it resonates, leave a comment. And if it really resonates, share this with someone. All those things really do help the channel and helps us spread more inspiration and more love and more gratitude and more curiosity to more people. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate you guys. Much love. Stay inspired. I really love that. The value audit is the tool there. Um,
Yes.
you mentioned creativity. I want to kind of step into that and like if you could maybe blend manifesting. I mentioned that's one of my values. I love to think about that. I think that's one of the reasons why we're here is to experiment with how we can best manifest in life. And I think we're here for the manifesting, not so much for the manifestation. So I can get your take on that as well. But I'd love for you to talk about the creativity of the sandwiches and even the branding and even I love how you added love into the title of your business. Talk about all those things, and you can blend them how you want.
So let's see. We'll start with what manifesting.
Sure.
I just did my food and philosophy talk last night, and
Cool.
somebody brought up manifesting.
Yeah.
And the biggest, for me, the biggest misconception from humans, spiritual or otherwise, about manifesting is that they're like, oh, I want to manifest this, I want to manifest that, I want to become a better manifester, and I'm like, we're all master manifestors. There's nothing that you're not manifesting right now. And I get it. Sometimes folks are like, well, why am I manifesting XYZ? And I don't want to get into the discussion about how you want what you get and all that other stuff because we'll be talking for like 10 or 12 hours and people that don't agree will still also not agree. Because we are already going to do many things that we don't have to be reminded to do, we're creating that in every moment. If we don't like what we have as an experience, we're open to just shifting it. I was broke, hungry, not knowing when or what or where I was going to eat next or sleep. And I thought, well, this life sucks. What would I like instead?
Yeah.
Well, what I like now is to have a place to sleep, food in my stomach, and then eventually a mode of traveling. So gas in my car, a car and gas in my car. Very low level. And so I was like, how am I gonna get these things? Okay, if I give value, I'll get value. Now, I didn't mean it in a spiritual way. I meant it in if I go get a job, they're gonna pay me. Within all those things, I noticed how I was creating my experience. My first paycheck ever was from Victoria's Secret. I mentioned Victoria's Secret earlier. And there was many aspects of the job that I really didn't like. and there's many aspects of the job that I really did like. In the moments that I didn't like the job, I noticed I was saying things like, "Oh, I'm not getting paid enough. Oh, I'm not like this sucks. Why am I having to fold panties for 3 hours because some dumb people come in and ruin it every like 30 minutes? Like, can't you just look at it and know it's your size or not and put it back down? No, you have to, you know." And I started making all these stories up. And then I saw that more people would come in. It didn't stop the women from messing up the panties that I just spent 3 hours folding, and then the parts that I did like, I noticed that those lit me up, helping them pick something. Oh, I'm here for a date and I really need them. Like, oh, dude, what color do you like? This right here will work. And even though I didn't know anything about bras, I was still moving in the direction of the what I like to do. So I kept moving towards doing the sales stuff. And then because I was selling stuff, they didn't want me to fold panties anymore because I was more useful selling stuff. And then I was selling a lot of stuff. I sold more the most bras out of anybody in the store as a guy, and they're like, "Oh, you need to sell more. You need to do this." And so I started moving up that. Was I manifesting that by saying all the negative things in my mind? Oh, I don't want these women to come and ruin the panties, and then they would ruin them or not. I don't know, but I noticed that when I was stopped saying that, I never had to go. It didn't matter if they were ruining the panties or not. I never had to clean them ever again, because I was on other duties within what I was inspired by. So there we are. We're moving in our life, and we're not realizing that we're manifesting great relationships because we nurture those. If that's you, we're manifesting great businesses if you nurture the business. If that's you, you're manifesting great physical body or health if you're nurturing that. If that's you, we're already manifesting it. The only times we think we're not is when we want something and we're not getting it. Those are the times like, man, I really want to manifest this. Not seeing the connection, how all the other things that we've been manifesting in our lives. We don't give ourselves credit for all the successes that we have.
Yeah.
In 2010, I learned this thing about celebrating successes. I'm one of those big ones. I was in the New York Times 9 times in 2009 and 2010, and it never once was like, yes, I was in the New York Times. Oh my God, that's so crazy. 9 times. I was in the Wall Street Journal, video in the New Wall Street Journal for sandwiches, Fox News, ESPN Sports Center, LA Times, San Francisco Chronicle, like all boom, boom. It doesn't matter, everything because of the commotion or amazingness or whatever you want to call it I was doing. And then I learned about a success. Yes, celebrate our success.
Yeah.
When we go down, we're wallowing in that, but we never wallow in success or savor it. So as soon as I started doing that, I started noticing that more and more of that would show up. Is
Yeah.
that manifesting or not? I don't know, but I don't believe in coincidences. So that was that. What were the other things?
Well, before we go there, do you think that's law of attraction stuff? I'm really interested in this. Do you think that since you started celebrating your success more, you attracted more success?
The thing with the law of attraction specifically, and I love Esther and Jerry Hicks. I unfortunately never got to meet them, but I remember listening to their CDs when I was
I've seen the Abraham. I've been to 3 live Abraham events. Incredible.
when I was my first girlfriend when they started becoming successful at Ike. She was really into the whatever you want to call this. I don't want to call it hippy dippy stuff, but the reason why we were going to talk about going to Cafe Gratitude and all that, and Abraham, she got me some uh, Abraham Hicks CDs back when CDs were a thing. I know if you're a kid, what the hell's a CD? Anyways, I have these CDs and I listened to them, and I was like, man, this is great stuff. But what I realized is between the Law of Attraction or even the book The Secret, and I was blessed that I got to meet a lot of the people from the books of The Secret as mentors,
Cool.
is that the key between the Law of Attraction and manifesting, which is kind of the same thing, and having is action.
Yeah. Right.
And I know you want to talk about this, the inspired action,
Yeah.
and I say, well, your action's already going to be inspired because you're doing something that you want to do. Is the action piece, and
Yeah.
so when I started going with, well, here's what I want, and then looking at do I actually do it? The things that I wanted and I actually did, I ended up getting all of them, 100%. Not some of them, not most of them, all of them. And the things that I say that I want and I don't take action on, I'd never get. So then I started going, well, the coincidence is, or the link is action, which is then I started basing everything based on my action, having evidence of what I want to be coming true. So there I am doing law of attract, like literally I'm reading the book The Secret, or I'm listening to Abraham Hicks CDs, and I'm going, okay, I want this, I want this, I want this. They in there, the part that people miss in theirs, they said, ask for what you want, right? Allow. People don't allow. They're really good at asking for what they want. They're not really good at allowing for it. And then once they say use the word term rockets of desire. The
Nice.
main I don't want to say the main. The only benefit we get out of what we don't want or knowing what we don't want is that you know what you want. Once you know what you want, you need to forget about what you don't want. And so that's kind of how I use the law of attraction, but based on what am I actually doing? I don't like this. Great. That means I want this instead or whatever I
Yeah.
want. And
Yep.
then forget about what I don't want because when I kept focusing on what I didn't want, I would get it. So
Right.
is that law of attraction? Is that manifesting, or is that just like laws of physics or whatever? Or is it because I'm taking action? And so, of course, if I'm fat and I was 30% body fat, and then I was like, well, I don't want that anymore. And I just started doing one push up and two push ups and three push ups and 10-minute walks and then 20-minute walks and then 30-minute walks. And then in a 16-week period, I go from 30% body fat to 11% body fat, which is staggering. Even like, I'm like, how the hell did I even do that? But it was based on the actions that I took, not based on thinking I would like to not be fat or thinking that, oh, I'm going to be healthy soon. It was the action that went with it. And then the same thing with financial success, the same thing with relationship success, the same thing with even my speaking. My speaking, if you said you watched my YouTube stuff, man, my first video had like well probably now 20 views because you watched it, but now my stuff get like 9 million views. But if I worried about only having 20 views, then I would continuously have 20 views instead of just speaking anyway, even if it's to nobody, and then having those things show up.
I think the key, what you're talking about here is the contrast, right? The opposite of what's wanted, and then not focusing on that, but using that as fuel to get back to what's wanted. Do I have that correct?
In yes, uh,
Yeah.
we already have indicators. Like anybody listening, you know that you're moving consistently. Not a single one of us is gonna stay in bed all day, outside of a very 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 small subset of people.
And if that
But
is you listening right now, let's
yeah,
go. Come on, let's go.
yeah. I remember one night before I went to bed, I was sleeping in the back of somebody else's van. I had I wish I do have it here in the closet, but I had this felt coat that I wore to my prom. I used it as a blanket when it was cold or a pillow when it was warm, and I had that, and I was going to bed hungry, thinking I was a loser because my business was gone. I had no money. I'm starving. So pain physically, pain emotionally, and I remember saying, "Okay, well, what else have I gone through?" I was sad and about to go to sleep, and I heard a voice in my head, and it said, "Hey, do you remember when you broke your arm when you were 6?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. I remember when I broke my arm when I was 6. Did it hurt? Yeah, of course it hurt." And I'm like arguing with myself in my head.
Mhm.
And the question that changed my whole life was, does it hurt now? And I remember like looking at my arm, and I still actually have a I don't know if you can see. It's still a little deformed from whenever the cast was on, but it's still like if you it's I don't know if you guys can tell. But anyways, it's still there. So I have evidence that it happened, but I was like, "Oh, you're right. doesn't hurt anymore. And then I asked, hey, do you remember my first girlfriend? And I said her name in my head. I said, yeah. Remember when we broke up? Yeah. Did it hurt? Yes. How bad does it hurt right now? Oh, yeah. I do miss her and still think about her often, but I'm not debilitated. I'm not depressed. I'm not never working, going to work. And I just went on. So all of us have had negative emotional and physical pain that we're no longer dealing with now. And if you're dealing with it right now, you've had an experience of when it happened before or some other pain, emotionally or physically, happened that you're no longer feeling now. None of us have zero experience with this. And from that moment forward, I didn't think or believe. I knew that being homeless was gonna disappear. Hopefully tomorrow, but if not tomorrow, the next day, if not that next day, the day after that. And one day, I went to bed that night going, you know what? It wasn't today, but maybe it'll be tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I knew it was going to be true. I didn't think or believe or trying to manifest it. I already knew based on my previous life
Yeah.
history. And we all have that right now. So I wore my suffering as a badge of honor to myself, knowing that I've achieved so much before in suffering, feeling bad, physically broken bones, broke my ankle, doesn't hurt anymore now. Heartbreak doesn't hurt now. And using that
Yeah. That reminds me of that phrase, this too shall pass, right?
exactly. And then so I bought a shirt that said, "This too shall pass."
There
But
you
the thing
go.
is, it's true.
This episode is brought to you in part by Blender's Eyewear. They hooked us up with some fresh shades for a giveaway. So check out our Instagram at Within the Game Podcast for more details on how you can win a pair. Plus, you can use our code WCB20 for a 20% discount on your own pair. Shout out to Blenders for supporting the show and keeping us looking good on and off the sand. Yeah. I mean, going back to athletes and entrepreneurs, my main audience, I mean that we need to kind of remind ourselves of that, especially in pain, losing, uninspired action, right? Depression, even I've been there myself. It's part of the reason why I wrote the book, The Inspired Athlete, because there's the opposite of that is the uninspired athlete. It's just like, almost on the verge of depression, right? Just like, I don't want to play anymore. I don't want to train. I want to be in bed all day. I don't want to do anything. The opposite though of that is the inspired athlete. Let's go, and the inspired entrepreneur, right? Because
Yeah.
that's where I really connect with you on that because I feel that from you. I want to ask you quickly because I want to get back to creativity
All
because
right.
I'm really inspired by the creativity on your menu and just the whole brand itself. But I actually want to step back and ask you about spirituality. You mentioned you were talking to that voice in your head. What is that? Is that our ego? Is that our higher self? Is that a divine power? I'm really interested in that, and I feel like a lot of us do have a connection to a higher power. What is that for you?
So for me, my belief on what it is, I don't have any evidence for this. Well, I have my own evidence for this, is I believe it's the voice is either a past self. So when it's a negative thing, it's a past self. Like when I was 6, I heard whatever, and so now when you go and to move towards something, when I go towards move something, and it's something that I can't do, or someone told me I can't do that, I'm like, oh, well, you can't do that. Even though it's somebody else's quote voice, it's me reminding myself, hey, by the way, you can't do it.
It
Especially if
becomes
I
a
don't have,
belief.
yeah,
Yeah,
especially if I don't have evidence that I can. Like if
yeah.
somebody's like, you're not ever going to be successful. With for sure, people have told me that in my life when I was younger, and I remember getting in trouble a lot as a kid. Like I'd have to go to the principal's office like once a week. I mean, the principal were like this. That's how often I saw him.
Hmm.
And the teachers were always like, "Oh, you're gonna be a whatever they were saying." And so I would say that stuff to myself. But then now I have proof. I'm never gonna be successful. I could go out of business tomorrow, And I will never not think that I'm not successful or that I couldn't restart tomorrow or whatever. So, for one, I think it's either a past version of ourselves and the other is a future version of ourselves. I believe because how time is, time on a we live our life, time on a line. It appears that we're living our life. We're here's our birth and here's our death, and it goes like this. But in reality, Einstein or whoever, Bell's theorem, things like that. In reality, life is like this, and in in theory, which is probably in actuality too, but we'll never be able to prove it. In actuality, everything's like that movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, or
Hmm.
whatever. Which, by the way, is an amazing movie. In
What
reality,
movie?
life
What
is
what is that? Where's that from?
this is
That movie? No, the movie.
oh, Everywhere, Everything, All at Once. It's an amazing
Everything,
movie.
everywhere. All, okay, yeah,
Check it out. But
yeah.
this is not from there. It's just
Okay,
reminds me of the title. Because if life, so we live life like this, time on a line. I'm born and then I die, and all of us we're born and we die, and then there's the life, and you're 20 and then you're 30 and then whatever, and then but in reality, life is like this. Everything experienced slow needs life needs to be separated this way so we can actually move through it, and it can get created and adjusted and move. But I believe life is like this. And I'll tell you why. So the conversation that I'm having with myself, oh, is your arm broken? That happened in 2004. I remember doing an exercise in 2014 with one of my spiritual mentors or personal development mentors or whatever. And it was the last day of a 2 year thing where he was teaching us how to it was segue into the like holographic universe theory and quantum theory and things like that. And so on the last day, he goes, hey, imagine he took us through a meditation, and towards the end he goes, imagine yourself, go back and find yourself the day you walked in, your first day, whenever that was for you, when you walked in on day one, which for me was 2 years prior, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. And I would go, yeah, there I was, and I saw myself walk in the room, and he's like, breathe with your body, notice the thoughts you had back then, notice the skill level you had back then. He's like, and breathe into that version of you that, oh, it's going to be all right and you're going to be here one day and all that stuff. So I was like having a conversation with my 2 year younger self.
cool.
And I was like, oh, cool. That feels pretty good. And then he's like, okay, and while you're at it, this new sense of resources that you have, this new knowledge that you have, the best parts of whatever your experience is right now with this, go find a past version of yourself where this would have been really useful to know. And I get chills even talking about it right now. And I remember even more so, even though we're in a meditation, even more so, the room blacked out, and I was in the back of the van, and I said, "Hey, do you remember when you broke your arm when you were 6?"
Hmm.
And I was like, "Holy shit, that was me in 2014, reminding my 2004 self in a long about way, this too shall pass, but without using cliches, like showing myself, hey, it sucks right now, but your arm being broken sucked. And then I threw in a new thing that I totally forgot was, hey, remember because your right arm was broken and that you're right-handed when you went to class after you got your cast on, they were like, hey, who wants to help Ike write his assignments out, and we were like 6 years old or whatever. But the girl that I had a crush on was like, "Oh, I'll help him." So for my whole like kindergarten year, I had this gal who had a crush on like sitting next to me and helping me with my homework. So I was like, "Hell yeah! I'm glad I broke my arm." Like I remember reminding myself that, oh, I actually was happy that I broke my arm because of that. And so I believe, like I said, it's either a past version of ourselves or a future version of ourselves.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Real quick, because I know we're over time. Do you have more time?
Oh, good. I got time for you. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So it reminds me of this book called Spiritual Growth. Do you know? Are you familiar with that book?
No, who's the author?
I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna put it in the description as well. But what it is, Samaya Rowan. Sonaya with an N. But what it reminds me of what you're talking about is it's like a discussion with your higher self. And I really resonate with that. I think that we do have a higher self that is kind of pulling us a little bit in a certain direction. And I think that our the the Aaron that you're hearing right now, the this person is like a combination of like all the past events and beliefs and everything that's happened in my life and my ego, like that persona who I've become, right? But there's this higher self that's like quietly like, hey, come this way, do this, don't do that, and it's like this guide almost. And anyway, I mentioned that because what you're talking about with that meditation and that visualization, man, athletes and entrepreneurs, we do that a lot. I think successful entrepreneurs and athletes, even if they don't share, they're doing that. We're naturally doing that. We're visualizing and we're being pulled in a certain direction. And I don't know, I'm fascinated with that. So I love having conversation about that because the more that we can kind of become almost that's really what that book is about, is becoming the higher self, not just being guided by it, actually becoming the higher version of Ike, the higher version of Aaron, the higher version of everyone who's watching or listening, right? Like the elevated version, almost the divine version, but in here right now. We're not waiting to become that. We're like actively becoming that. So anyway, I wanted to share that because you're that's the way you're talking, you know. Yeah. So anyway, maybe that's a good transition to business stuff and how we can kind of be the higher version of ourselves in the here, the now, in the 3D. We both connect to this book, Sacred Commerce. Maybe we can use that. And if anyone doesn't know Sacred Commerce, it's the owners of or the founders of Cafe Gratitude, Matthew and Terces Englehart. This has been a business Bible for me. Maybe you can talk a little bit about, because I want to go back to creativity, Ike. I'm really inspired by the creativity you've been able to implement in your brand and your business. Maybe we can talk about how you use some of the concepts of sacred commerce and created this flourishing, blossom, different, creative business.
So you showed me that book before we started, and so oddly enough, the first ever personal development anything I ever did in my life was to go and watch Matthew and Tercy Englehart do a workshop that they called Kindred Spirit.
Mm,
And I remember, so I went through a phase where I started listening to the Abraham Hicks CDs, and that segued me into some Tony Robbins CDs. And Tony Robbins was like, "Oh, you got to eat an alkaline diet," and I'm like, "Oh, well, let me do that," because Tony Robbins said, like, if Tony Robbins wasn't saying it, I probably wouldn't have done it. I didn't think I was fat. I didn't think I was bad. I just was like, "Oh, well, Tony Robbins says to eat like this, so I'm gonna start doing that," which led me to finding vegan food that fit the diet, or finding alkaline food, which a lot of raw, and back then Cafe Gratitude was raw vegan. Ended up not working out the raw vegan part, so they started adding in the warm dishes. But back then, when I met them, they were still a raw vegan place. So you go there and get a pizza, but it wasn't even like, it's definitely not a pizza. Or you would get a, it was crazy. Anyways, so I go and I start eating there, and then um, my girlfriend at the time, who was I told you, I don't want to call her hippy dippy because there's nothing wrong with being hippy dippy, but she was really into that stuff. So we started, it'd be like, all right, let's go eat at Cafe Gratitude and let's go eat at Cafe Gratitude again. And all the places in San Francisco at the time, nobody was really doing alkaline food except for Cafe Gratitude. So I ate there a lot.
cool.
And so one time I'm at the Cafe Gratitude restaurant, and the server was telling us all of, she was like, oh, there's nobody here right now because everybody's going to this workshop called Kindred Spirit that Matthew and Tercy are doing. And she believed in it so much that she told the whole staff, like she worked at a different store. She's like, I want you guys all to go. I will run the store. I'm a manager from a different restaurant. And she was like, I'm here and I will run the store and I'll take everybody's shift because she wanted them to go to the class. So I was like, well, damn. She inspired me to go, well, if she thought that much that she's willing to put her ass in their seats so they can go, I was like, all right, when's the next one? It was whatever, 3 weeks from then. So we sign up for it. We go. I meet Matthew and Tercy, and the kindred spirit was it was described to me as a relationship workshop. So my girlfriend's like, we're gonna go to this. It's be so cute and romantic and whatever, right? So we go, and in the middle of, and I'm like, they're talking. They're sitting on a stage at some spot in San Francisco, some like high school stage thing that they rented out, and I was like, huh. The relationship with others starts with the relationship to self. Now, they didn't say that specifically, but I took in what they said and turned it into that. So I started going, okay, if I'm going to have a better business, if I'm going to have a better relationship with my staff, if I'm going to have a better relationship with the fans, and we by then were pretty popular and we had fans. In fact, I was like, oh, I don't know if I can go because we're too busy. What if we things get go all bad? And so I go, okay, so if I work on my relationship with myself, it's going to automatically make my relationship with my girlfriend better, with her, and it's going to automatically make my relationship with my staff better and with the fans better. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to just quote love myself. And I got the Kindred Spirit book. After I got the Sacred Commerce book, and
Hmm.
I actually use the Kindred Spirit book more than I use the Sacred Commerce book. I think I
Okay.
have it like right here, right over there on my bookshelf,
Okay.
because it was all about establishing relationship to others, but through the relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
I I don't become defensive if I work on myself. So then, even if, say, somebody that I care about is like, "Oh, well, you're never there for me," and blah blah blah, whatever. So even if that might be true, well, I go, "Well, yeah, my values are this, this, and this, and obviously I care about you, because if I didn't care about you, then I would never talk to you, and I would never text you back, and in fact, it wouldn't even be here defending myself to you." So what ended up happening is I started really using their philosophy through the kindred spirit model, which I'm sure some of, and recalling on what's in sacred commerce, like the clearing and a bunch of other things, that exists, um, you to other people, where kindred spirit is you to you.
Cool.
And if everybody does that with themselves first, it's easy to do sacred commerce, or it's easy to be inspired in your work, or it's easy to
Cool.
have inspired relationships, or have make your goals the goals that you want to do.
That's really cool. I will check that out. Now let's get into that creativity stuff because I'm just so like okay, maybe bridge the relationship to self to even to higher self or divine, bridge the North Star of the bottom line because as an entrepreneur, that's kind of a driving factor, right? We want to increase our bottom line. How'd you come up with 100 plus sandwich variations and be so and your creativity
Let's see.
and sorry
Yeah.
and the your I did at the David Meltzer events. That's one of my biggest questions for anyone who's successful is like, what's your differentiating factor? How did you do that? Because I think that's really relatable to the audience. Like, as we all go through our own endeavors, own businesses, own journeys, how can we be different? So, yeah, take that, please.
Well, so one of the things I noticed a long time ago is that everybody is right by their own method, by their own metrics.
Okay.
So if if there I'm if there I am and I'm making food and I think it's great by my metrics, and then you think it's not great by your metrics. And actually, the only place where I believe the customer is always right, and the full quote is, the customer is always right when it comes to taste and
Hmm.
their taste. So if they like the sweater because they think it's a cool color, and they don't like it, they're right. If they eat your sandwich and they don't like it, they're right. Outside of that, you should never worry, and even in that case, you should never worry about what somebody else thinks about your business or your product or your service.
Like that.
If you disagree, if you agree, like, oh shit, you're right, that sandwich was trash today, my fault, then yes, take their feedback. But if they're like, oh, I don't like sandwiches that have sauce and whatever, they're right, but I'm not going to change because I'm right by my metrics on my own food. So what I noticed is that, and probably the most controversial thing I'll ever say when it comes to business is that it because it's anti Silicon Valley, which is where Ike's grew up, and my second Ike's was on campus at Stanford. Is they always say find a need and fulfill it. What Ike says, the world business according to Ike is it doesn't matter what people want to buy. What matters more is that you're selling what you want to sell. Because if you're selling what you want to sell, you're going to go out there and you're going to be very creative. You're never going to run out of ideas. So I'm always going to have crazy sandwich ideas. You're never going to have to worry about getting tired. I don't get sick and tired of creating a new sandwich. No, I create it. In fact, I almost never eat a sandwich that's on the menu at Ike's because I'm busy creating the next sandwich.
That's cool, dude. That's
I'm
cool.
I'm gonna be a genius in this area. Like I'm gonna research, hey, where can I find like I've researched I was like, oh, I really want to find a nice exotic meat that would be easily transferable to a sandwich. I was trying to find, don't cry, sliced kangaroo meat or deer meat or something that I could find a like duck pastrami, stuff like that that nobody has, but that would be and then I would try it to see if it's delicious or not. So in the scope
Hmm.
of, and the thing is while you're not worrying about what people want to buy, only worrying about selling what you want to sell, eventually people will want to buy what you're selling because you're the best in the world at it. Like say you're the only person that makes stuffed voodoo rabbits and you're the only person that each one's for a different day of the week. Say you're the only person that does that, and nobody wants that. Well, someday somebody's going to be like, "Oh, I'm really looking for a cool gift that's unique, that has a cool story behind it." Or somebody's like, "You know what? I need a voodoo instead of a voodoo doll. I want a voodoo animal." And people are going to come find you, and then you. In fact, the more you sell that you want to sell, and if nobody wants to buy it, the less competition you have at that level. And so, but now when people are like, "Hey, I want to buy a sandwich," I show up, even though the number one selling sandwich in the whole world is a turkey sandwich, plain turkey and cheese or whatever, with mayonnaise and probably mustard. If you try to come and order that at my place, which I totally can and sell, and I can serve it to you, I'm going to try to talk you out of that. I'm going to say, oh, well, actually, instead of that, we have this sandwich called the Jim Rome. I love Jim Rome. He's really inspirational, but his sandwich has sun-dried tomato pesto and avocado and turkey. You like turkey and avocado sandwiches? And they'll probably be like, yeah, actually do. Great. Boom. I'm going to sell them that. Instead of they came in for a turkey with mayonnaise and mustard and cheese sandwich. So that's the thing. It doesn't matter what people want to buy. It matters more that you want to sell what you're selling. And then you can switch. Now, if at the end of the day they go, no, I absolutely only want a turkey sandwich. I have the taste buds of an 8-year old. I don't even want mayo or mustard on it. Sure. I'm in the business of selling sandwiches, so I'll sell it to you. But it starts with what do you want to sell?
That's really cool. I really, really like that. And I want to dive into the names a little bit more. I think it's genius. I wanted to tell you this, and I'm glad I'm telling you this publicly. You probably already know this, but I think it's absolutely genius to you mentioned Jim Rome. How many names, how many total names do you have? I know it's 100 plus, right?
We have yeah, I don't know how exactly. We have over 100 collabs with celebs.
Collabs. So these collabs are genius because the number one thought that I have as a fan, right, looking outside is like, I want that. I want the Aaron sandwich. I want the inspired athlete
Dude,
sandwich.
I have such a long line for people that want a sandwich. Like it's over 70 deep that we haven't even released yet.
But
I was talking with my marketing team the other day and I was like, hey, we didn't even release so and so's sandwich. And he keeps texting me to like, when are we going to release it? So
but
what we
that's
do
so
is,
smart.
yeah, when we create it, we make sure it's in the register so
Hmm.
that whoever Forrest Griffin can go in or David Melzer can go in and go, hey, can I get the David Melzer? No pull boy, you're enough. I forget the official name, but something like that, and he can get it. And then if he tells people to go get it, they can get it too. But we haven't released it yet because we have a like 70 people deep list,
It's
and then
cool.
in every week, maybe even a little bit more, somebody's like, hey, what about me? Hey, what
So,
about me? Like Billie Eilish uh, recently did a spotlight for us. She's
mhm.
just a customer, and I'm like, dude, I freaking love Billie Eilish. I actually met Billie long time ago, like before she ate at Ike's, and mentioned that I have the sandwich shop. And she was like, "Oh, well, I'm vegan." And I was like, "Well, you came to the right guy then. I have vegan sandwiches." So hopefully that's why she came in. Maybe she found it accidentally because maybe she didn't even remember how many people talked to her, right? But anyway, I met her and told her about that, and then years later, she's shouting me out. We're still waiting to release the Billie Eilish thing, but she keeps talking about it, so people keep eating there. And
So yeah, yeah.
it's
Sorry. Go
great.
ahead. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's great for marketing. It's great for fun.
yeah,
It's great for inspiration.
yeah.
They like it. They feel like they're part of the brand too.
No, it's 100%. So here's the next thought, and it's a little bold of me doing this publicly, but here we go. Um, First of all, have you ever thought about going on Shark Tank?
I thought about it a long time, but then at the end I'll be like, all right, and I need 10 million a point or something like that.
So the reason why I
I
asked
met
that,
Mark Cuban in New Orleans at the All-Star game, and I was like, hey, I have a sandwich named with you. We named our sandwich, our Cuban sandwich, the Mark Cuban back in the day, like without his permission. And I was like, hey, here's my business card. I have a sandwich named after you. Don't sue me. And he's like, what? And then Draymond Green was there. He was the coach for the West. This was at the Celebrity All-Star game
yeah.
for NBA, and he's like, "Oh yeah, dude, I like Ike's." And Baron Davis is like, "Oh yeah, I like Ike's." And I was like, "Great, that's I have your permission now. If you ever come to me later and say no, I'm gonna be like, no. Remember at the All-Star game we talked about it, blah blah blah." So, uh,
Yeah. No,
I haven't been on Shark Tank, but that's my Mark Cuban story.
it's so like okay, so here's the thought process. So I might even nudge you to go on there because they might be able to blow you up even more. But okay, so but here's my thought. There's a product called Bombas socks. Have you heard of them?
I have a pair, yes.
Oh, you do? Yeah, they're great socks.
I have one like right over here. Yeah.
But I was thinking, it might be kind of cool for you to think about what if you could take that model and basically that model is if you buy a pair of socks, then they donate a pair of socks to someone in
I actually
need.
didn't know about that. Yeah.
And that I think that's extremely powerful because the customer now feels a part of a cause. So my thought for you, and again, this is bold doing this publicly, but here we go. And my thought is like, and this is just a thought, what if you could collab all these collabs that you're doing with the celebrities? What if you could tie some sort of financial incentive to the sale of the sandwich that goes directly to their foundation? So that when I buy that Mark Cuban sandwich, now I feel like I'm a part of helping, right? And so anyway, I wanted to throw that out there. I don't know if that works
Well,
financially or not,
so
but
what we found about that is that doesn't actually work.
okay.
People only buy Billie Eilish's sandwich because they like Billie Eilish. Even if because we've done it with other celebrities. We did it with Alice Cooper, we've done it with Marshawn Lynch, we've done it with where people if Marshawn Lynch isn't telling people to come get a sandwich, nobody buys his sandwich based on the dollar or $2 that's going to the charity.
Okay, that's
Legit,
cool.
because somebody walks in and they go, "Well, I want my menage a trois sandwich." Oh, well, if you get the Marshawn Lynch, $2 goes to youth sports in Oakland, usually underprivileged folks in the Bay Area. Some people are like, "Well, that's fine. I'll just take the menage a trois."
Well, anyway, that
So unfortunately, it does not work. But anyway, like I said about the food and stuff, I donate more food than I make personally.
that's
So
amazing.
we do have a charity component. It's just I'm not like, hey, buy sandwich now. Maybe I mean it could possibly be a good marketing thing, but I don't necessarily do. I don't give away food more than I make because I want to tell people that. It's more like that's just what I do because that's where my values are. Feeding people. I remember
Yeah.
didn't have food and things like that. And so, are we mismanaging that? Probably. I could probably be like, we're already going to give away whatever $2 million worth of food in 2026. We're already going to do that. So maybe I could use that in marketing instead of saying, "Hey guys, if you buy a sandwich, every sandwich we buy, you buy, we're going to send whatever we're going to send to some people." Perhaps it could be a mismarketing thing for us. But
It's
yeah.
just an idea, and I think that you're sitting on such a gold mine with that creativity and that brand synergy, right? Like, man, like, and even me, like personally, right? Like, I might want to hit you up and be like, I want to be number 71 and have the inspired athlete sandwich on there, and
That
like,
one's Steve Jobs, by the way, 71. Steve got a
there,
sandwich.
there you go. And I just think it's so powerful, and people want to attach themselves to that, and so I commend you for the creativity, and I think that anyone listening or watching, you know implement your own creativity in your own way, you know? And maybe I could ask you right now about the love idea because I'm attracted to that. I love that you put that word in your tagline. Where'd that come from?
Back in, so where the name Love and Sandwiches come from? Back in 2010, when I was going through all the drama and getting kicked out, Gavin Newsom, mayor of San Francisco at the time, the Supreme Court of California was like, you can't sell sandwiches, all these things. The reason why I wanted to change the name was twofold. One, we needed a clear legal split from the previous business to the new business because the previous business went out of business. And many folks jumped on the gravy train of let's fuck Ike because the judge said that the judge basically said, hey, Ike is ruining the neighborhood. Based on the judge basically said that. So now it gives anybody standing to be like, hey, let's just take Ike's money. And spoiler alert, I didn't have any money back then. I was only in business for 3 years, and we spent over $1 million in lawsuits and fines and pay, whatever, all these things. So I was like, we need to clear. This is a new company. So I was like, I need to come up with a new name. But in the process of teaching and speaking, back then, one location, but mainly the media. I was in New York Times, Nine Times, as I said, Wall Street Journal, Fox News, uh, L.A. Times, New York Times, San Francisco Chronicle, blah, and so forth and so forth. All these media was covering me because it was big drama. It was a politician versus me.
Mm,
It was the state of California versus Ike. Like it was versus Ike's, but I'm the front man for that. And so people, all the interviews kind of said the same thing. How are you doing this as a 400 square foot location? And I was like, hey, we just love it more. I'm not saying that other people don't love. I'm not saying Cafe Gratitude didn't love their customers. I'm not even saying that McDonald's doesn't love their customers. What I was saying was that I love the game more. And I was like giving them examples. Like I'm getting sued for millions of dollars and I'm still showing up to work even though the government's like, if you show up, it was a $200 fine every day to open. And I was like, I love sandwiches selling so much that I'll pay a 200. Not only am I going to pay whatever it costs to run the business, I'm also just going to throw $200 in the trash because of a fine a day.
wow.
And I was like, I just love it more. I'm not saying your local mom and pop, although but back then I was a local mom and pop. Sandwich shop doesn't love their customers or love the game, but I love it more. I have proof that I love it more. Look at all this, so I love it more. And I go, in fact, people come here because I love the game so much, and then they also happen to get a sandwich. So later on, when we had to delineate, when we had to close the other company, because the judge is like, boom, you can't sell any more sandwiches, and we created the new company, it was very fitting for it to become Ike's Love and Sandwiches because the love came first and then we happen to sell sandwiches. Like I could sell pizza and it'd still be Love and Pizza or Love and Donuts or Love and coaching. Like it's all the love first, the love of the game first, and then the
That's cool.
product.
That's really cool. And I think I heard donuts are coming next, huh?
I have donuts already. I got one
All
donut
right.
shop. I'm about to open up the second one. I have one donut shop in New Orleans, and the next one's coming to Northern California. And then I'll probably open one up in San Francisco proper, because that's my home where I was born and raised, and one of
The speed of your success is inspiring. And Ike, as we start to wrap up, I just have a few more things.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
again, I really appreciate your time. What's more important in business, brand identity or brand perception?
Ooh, what's it? What is the different? What do you mean by brand identity?
Brand identity kind of goes back to, in my understanding of it, like who you are, right? Going back to that value list, what you value, and who Ike's loves and sandwiches really is, and really only you know that. Brand perception is what I think it is.
So, how I've been saying is, it doesn't matter what people want to buy; it only matters what you want to sell.
Right.
So, if you're focusing on who and what you are from a business standpoint, but also in the beginning of all things, the business takes on the identity of the founders.
Right.
In fact, that's the reason why Steve Jobs was the forefront of Apple, even though Steve Wozniak was the product basically.
Hmm.
And then when Steve Jobs left, they're like, "Oh, we made a mistake," and he eventually came back, right? So the thing is it's not about the perception, because think about it. If you were there and you're doing and you're being and you're what you are, the brand wise, I mean, but also would be an extension of you, some version of you. Like you're not going to go out and create a business and it has nothing to do with what you personally value. Period. It's almost never going to happen that way. Sure, could maybe with some crypto stuff, maybe, but like it's not going to happen. So, and then people are like, "Oh, well, I don't like Ike's because of one, two, three, four, five." I'd be like, "Great, I'm not. You're. It doesn't matter what you want to buy. It only matters that I sell what I want to sell, and then people will find it." We already know a place like In-N-Out Burger, McDonald's not so much, but In-N-Out Burger has like one product, right? It's a burger with or without cheese. That's their product, and then they have fries and they have beverages. People love that. I don't like the fact that they only have a burger with or without cheese, or you can get it without the burger too if you're vegetarian, and that they only have fries and they only have drinks. In fact, I don't go to In-N-Out Burger mainly for that reason. So now, should they stop? Should they be like, hey, well, Ike wants to add avocado to his burger, or Ike wants to add tacos with his burger on the side, or Ike wants onion rings instead of fries? No, they're gonna be like, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do it, and people are gonna come and find us. I'm not their customer, so they shouldn't cater to me anyway. One of the things that happens versus identity in perception is if it matters what other people think about your business, usually the person that's thinking like matters what they think about your business in the negative aspect. Like say you're doing
Yeah.
stuff, you have people that think about your business in a good way, and they're called your customers. The people that think about your business in a bad way are not your customers. I hope that they put this somewhere in a business book. You know what's worse than conforming your business to your fans? Is conforming your business to your non-fans.
Right. Right.
If they're giving you feedback, negative especially, like I don't eat there, or they're a hater, or they're like, I don't understand why I can't just have a basic turkey sandwich. They're not buying my place anyway. They're buying something else, or they're literally not even eating at Ike's. They're going somewhere. They're like, so why would it matter what other people perceive of your business? Unless you're like a piece of crap, you're not going to have zero people that are going to perceive your business the way that you perceive it.
So brand identity is more important.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. And then the other two questions were we talked a little bit about North Star, but I want to make this relatable to any entrepreneur or anyone actually who is just pushing their own brand. Like, I think most of us as individuals, we all have our own personal brands that we want to elevate through Instagram, through socials, whatever that may be. What's the goal? What's the goal? Is it, and maybe you can take this for the sandwich business. Is the goal to sell? Is the goal to be the a household name? Well, you're already a household name. Is the goal to be global? Are you global?
Not yet.
Okay. Is that part of the goal? And let me finish here. Is the goal to be acquired, just like Subway just got acquired by they got acquired for 9.6 billion, I believe it was. Like a successful exit, because a lot of us entrepreneurs, we want that. We want to like take a brand as far as we can and then exit in a successful way. What's the goal?
Look, if somebody's cutting a $3 billion check, I'm peacing out, and Ike's Love and Pizza is coming next. So, or whatever, loving it. I like enchiladas actually more. So I'll probably do Ike's Love and enchiladas, like literally just an enchilada place, but with like 100 different enchiladas. So I
That's
will
funny.
definitely do that. And in fact, that's low key a goal would be to be able to do that. And because the only reason why somebody would be like, well, why would you? No, that's selling out. No, that's somebody else's values, right? If my goal is to feed people, it should be to feed people. Imagine how many people I could feed if I had $3 billion. So now, what's the goal? I want to feed 8 billion people a day. I want to feed people if we get to Mars and I'm still alive. But in fact, I want to feed people on Mars even if I'm not alive. Like I want other people through my recipes to feed people on other planets.
Like end world hunger, basically, right?
When if that happens. And so with with that, but that's based on my where my values are right now. My number one value is well, right now my number one value is speaking. My number two value is feeding people. So now, who knows? Maybe one day those about like feeding people was been number one for a few years. Now it's speaking. Based on my results, I speak 5 times a week. So obviously now I clearly feed people like 7 days a week. So maybe then based on results, feeding people is more important to me. And we feed 10 million people a year or 10 million meals a year, plus the 2 million meals we give away. So we feed 10, 12 million meals a year, then that is where that is. Now, as far as social media goes and things, would I love to be a transcendent philosopher and have other people use me as their reason to be inspired? Absolutely. And I'm speaking and doing things like doing lives, doing talks for like 20 people. We had an event and I capped it at 20 because I didn't want more than 20 people to show up because I just wanted to be intimate and talk to these people. Is that a great use of time? No, but that's if you're like scalability, if you're looking at other values. But is it a great way to inspire 20 people? 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
The event I had yesterday, we capped it at 40 people. And people were just walking in. And I was like, no, you don't have to leave. Just you can stay for a little bit. And I was speaking for about an hour at the Ike's in downtown Phoenix.
Cool.
So the goal is to just continuously do what's high on my list of values in
Yeah.
that moment because I'm going to do it anyway. And
Cool.
if that turns into A-list celebrity status, great. If that turns into 5,000 in one Ike's, great. And if that turns into private equity going, hey, Ike, we want to give you $5 billion or 9 point whatever they gave to Subway and 8 point whatever they gave to Jersey Mike's,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, thank you. And now I'm going to open up, like a combination of a speak house where you come in and you pay whatever to watch me speak, but then you also get fed like at the same time or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
which would be
Cool.
a dream for sure.
Awesome. I know we're way over time, so let's start to wrap. Oh,
Yeah, whatever you want.
just the last question is if someone did want to be number 72 on the list for the sandwiches, how would they go about that? Or do you reach out to them?
We get a lot of DMs,
Okay.
so I would say reach out. However, just know, even if it's a yes, it's still gonna be like David still doesn't have his sandwich come out, and every time I was like, "Oh, when's it gonna come out?" I was like, "Well, it's on." Well, that's basically based on our schedules, but yeah, we've got like A-listers that haven't even had theirs pop out yet.
Okay.
Not that if you're not an A-lister, you're less than. I'm just saying like we have a long list, and it's not because you're not important. Like that's not why.
And then the other question I had is, have you ever thought about offering organic?
I got asked that a lot when I was working with Cafe Gratitude folks,
Yeah, I
mostly
bet.
from their customers, not from Matthew and Tercy. And same thing, actually I learned this from Matthew and Tercy. He goes, what are you in business for? Feeding people, being creative in the kitchen, and creating memory, like having people create memories along a table, and then eating. Those are 4 reasons why I have Ikes.
Well, and making money too, right?
No,
Hmm. Okay.
I did that. My business plan was to have food in my stomach, gas in my car, and my rent paid.
That's cool. That's
Now,
cool.
would that cause some capital come in? Yeah, but it wasn't, and then become a billionaire.
Got
Although
it.
for sure now I'd like to become a billionaire. But I started and because I started getting really defensive about the organic thing, and I'd be like, well, it doesn't cost extra, blah blah blah, and all this. Like, there's 0% chance we can get all organic produce in New Orleans anyway. But that's not the reason to not do it. What Matthew said was, Ike, you just say I stand for feeding people. I stand for making people creative, creating memories on a table. I stand for being creative in the kitchen, and I stand for eating. The moment that it is required for those things to happen, that it needs to be organic, I'll transition to organic. But right now, it's clearly not a case that it's important to enough people to make it that it has to be.
Got you.
Like right now,
Got you.
you
That
can't
makes
like
sense.
poison people, like literal poison people, because they won't buy there, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I don't have poison food. But if poison food tasted delicious and you didn't die from it, I probably would, eat it myself at least, right? So the answer to that is because it's not a high priority for everybody, including myself.
Yeah.
And
That's
when it
cool.
does, when it becomes like you nobody eats anywhere that's not organic or nobody doesn't eat anywhere that's not seed oils, then I will do that. Until
Yeah.
then, that's what your home kitchen is for.
That makes sense. This has been amazing. Before we sign off, share how anyone can best support you, share all your offerings, your speaking, just plug yourself.
So if you want to hear more of these, I go live multiple times a week on my own channels, whether it's Instagram or TikTok. I'm the same on every single platform. So you can hit me up at Ike Shehadeh, and I assume you're gonna have how to spell my name there. I'm on that on every platform, even on what's that one that I actually use but people don't use anymore. It is Be Real. I'm even at Ike
Okay.
Shehadeh on that. I also have
Okay.
an alter ego where I'm way more frisky. And by frisky, I mean like I tell people to go bleep themselves, and that's at Ike's Influencers. So if you type in
Okay.
at Ike Shahada on everything and at Ike's Influencers on everything, you'll find the best way to find me. If you
Cool.
want some great, inspiring content, my YouTube channel is Vote the number four. So vote for Ike Shahada, and that's on YouTube. I did run for president in 2012. I don't end up winning, just so you guys know. I got less votes than Rosie O'Donnell. She got 39,000 votes. I got less than that. And then Ike Sandwiches. If you want to follow all food almost all the time, at Ike Sandwiches on everything.
Love it. This has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you. We'll do a part two sometime.
Yeah, anytime you want me again, we'll do another hour and a half or whatever. That's all
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, everyone who's here with us, appreciate you guys. Stay inspired, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you guys.